Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support this bill, especially for the naming of the outstanding Native American, Chief Joseph, and also the other guy. Thank you, Madam. Wait, I just remembered. Before Richard Nixon brought the troops home from Vietnam in '75, I was up, drafted number 5 on the lottery. And so I decided to go to an anti-war rally in Portland. Mark Hatfield was the featured speaker. I was trying to sort out my confusion. Was I against the policy, or was I just chicken? He got up and talked about being a World War II veteran. And then he said, if you came tonight to burn your draft card or go out and turn cars over in the street, you came to the wrong speaker. Because the only reason, he said, I have a voice is because the people of Oregon have sent me to the U.S. Senate, and the Constitution allows dissent within our system. A few years later, I have no idea why this dork from the Christmas tree district was hired, but I found myself on his staff in D.C. And at a very rare moment, I was actually working, through the lunch hour. And lo and behold, Senator Hatfield came sweeping through the office, and I was the only guy sitting at my cubicle trying to catch up. He wasn't looking for me specifically. He was looking for a ride to a luncheon. And he said, young man, have you had lunch? Would you like to give me a ride and join my luncheon? And I said, no, I'm busy. No, I jumped up. I jumped up and headed for the door, and he said, you might want your sport coat. So I grabbed my coat. It was 90 degrees and very hot in Washington, D.C. in August. As we turned onto Pennsylvania Avenue, it became clear we were heading to the White House. And then he said, pull up to the Secret Service station. I pulled into the gate pre-9/11. They recognized him and waved us in. He said, Secret Service will help you park your car, and I'll meet you on the South Lawn. The first person to greet me was First Lady Rosalind Carter to a Southern barbecue on the South Lawn. I spotted Senator Hatfield in the middle of a group of Congress people with cameras all around. In the middle was Jimmy Carter, President of the United States of America. Senator Hatfield waved me over and introduced me to the President of the United States. At that moment, an obnoxious Oregon congressman, who shall remain nameless, in an attempt to be funny, which I would never do, yelled, "Don't talk to that guy, Mark Hatfield, Mr. President. He's a Republican." No one laughed. I can relate to that. And
one moment, Representative. Representative Stark
question?
yields his time.
Oh, sorry.
Too many to count.
Thank you. And the sea sort of parted, and Jimmy Carter looked at him and said, Congressman Weaver, oh, I'm sorry. I'm aware of that, but if there's one guy I would invite into my party, it's Mark Hatfield. What do you say, Mark? All eyes turned to the senator, and he paused, and he said, Thank you, Mr. President, but if you'll allow me to paraphrase the Apostle Paul, I am almost persuaded. Now, if you know that scripture, you know laughter ensued, and we went on to the barbecue, and it was a great moment. I don't think Jimmy Carter remembers meeting me, but I remember that moment. On the way back to the Capitol, the senator said, you know, it's experiences like that you just had where people often say to me, how can you return to Salem, Oregon after rubbing shoulders at the White House? And he said, it is so easy to return to Oregon. And I hope you will always return to Oregon, young man. So after 30 years in the Senate, the seniority Senate, chairman of the Appropriations Committee, operating on a global national stage on myriad of issues. When he retired, he and Antoinette returned to Oregon immediately, where he became, in the last chapter of his life, an adjunct professor, a guest professor at half a dozen campuses in Oregon, public and private. He started his professional career at Willamette, inspiring young people, teaching political science, and he ended his career that way. It's difficult for me to summarize my admiration, and I know you're not surprised to see me up here talking about this. But I believe we have the opportunity today, as identified in the bill, to honor an indelible yet tragic story of a Native American. And what I believe, if you dig in, honoring the greatest statesman Oregon has ever seen. Madam Speaker, I look forward to the further speeches, and thank you.